Welcome to the Power Hour. The base is dropped on a Saturday morning. You've got 60 minutes to get ready with us for Atlanta and Nashville. Also, we're going to look back at yesterday, Europa League MLS matches from last night, other action from around the United States last night as well. We've got a big weekend preview of MLS. We've got a Champions League final to talk about, all kinds of stuff. So let's go chronologically this morning, John. Europa League yesterday. Sevilla shocked everybody with their win over Inter. It looked like Inter was going to take control of this thing. It all fell apart. I mean, it came down to the point that you've got Antonio Conte arguing with players about hair, threatening to meet them outside. And now the reports out of Italy this morning are that Antonio Conte might not be there next year. And he'd already said these kinds of things. And Max Allegri could be in charge of Inter in 2020/2021. That's a lot of stuff for one club in about 24 hours.
Do we know if Antonio Conte is still waiting outside the arena for Ever Banega?
He might be waiting outside of his office to see if he can get back into it ever again.
Does your key card work, sir?
He's had a lot of things to say about the club, and, that usually doesn't go over very well.
What was the number that I saw yesterday? Was it Spanish teams in finals? They're now 15 for their last 15 in the European theater.
Yep.
And I honestly thought that once the Lukaku goal came in early on the PK, you're sitting there and you're thinking, all right, pedal down. It's gonna be Inter, and then all of a sudden, De Jong's head got involved, not once but twice, and made it 2-1. Then Inter comes back. They end up with their header for the half to make it 2-2, and then you get the late goal. Sevilla finds their way through, and I have just come to the conclusion when it comes to picking things that I'm just going to go ahead and pick the Spanish side from now on, because every single time in international competition or in European competition that I go against the Spanish side, the opposite happens.
You're forgetting a couple.
I'm sure I am.
You're getting like 3. No, you're forgetting a lot. Just like a couple of days ago, it was Spanish football's dead. Remember?
True.
Barcelona?
Yes.
Real Madrid?
But in a
Atleti?
final, is what I'm saying. In a final.
In a final. Okay.
In a final.
Okay.
Because of that
Didn't
number
say
that I saw.
But okay.
In a final,
okay,
I'm going to go with the Spanish side because
I can't read your mind.
I was trying to go with that particular streak that is on an app that has to deal with...
But I thought Spanish football was dead.
I think it depends on who you're a fan of, yeah.
They won the Europa League. Let's slow down a little bit. They didn't win the Champions League. They won the Europa League.
No.
Is Spanish football dead or not?
I don't think it's... How about moribund? Would that work?
Is it really?
Needs some work? Kind of dinged up at the moment?
Well, if it's that, what's English football?
See, now, if
I'm just saying, since we have people in town who want to call leagues minor leagues, is English football the minor leagues?
No.
Why not? They're not the best. Where are they?
Well, I mean, what? We've talked about...
Sevilla's president couldn't even remember Wolves' name on the radio when he was talking about their path to this. He said, we won this, we beat some English team, then we beat Manchester United. I mean, where are they the minor leagues? Because where are they? That's what's so funny about all of this, because I'm playing things up for effect here, because last week Spanish football was dead.
Yeah.
But now it's celebrated. Let's not jump to conclusions about things being dead in the game of football anymore.
That's what folks do. They deal in the extremes.
Let's not deal in the extremes. The extremes suck.
It's either dead or it's awesome.
No, the extremes suck, and the extremes are bad places to be. Let's deal with facts. Barcelona's got a rebuild ahead of them that will likely take them out of this conversation for a minute. Real Madrid's not going anywhere. No. Real Madrid's not going anywhere at all. And Atleti has some decisions to make. Are they happy with where they are? Can they be more than they are? Or are they going to have to rebuild to be more than what they are currently? And we'll have to see, and we'll have to figure that out. Barca's in a much different spot. Sevilla's in a different one. I mean, Sevilla, Monchi comes back to the club. 9 of their starting 11 came to the club last summer. So his hands are on this team in a big way, and not for a ton of money either. And you go and you hire Julian Lopetegui. And, I mean, remember where Lopetegui was in all of this. I mean, he was a manager who was ready for a World Cup in 2018, not that long ago. He's in Russia.
Yep.
He's got the team ready. He was talking to Real Madrid. Talking's one thing. Things coming out is a different one. He gets sacked on the eve of the World Cup. Like, one of the most embarrassing things you can possibly have. Goes into Real Madrid broken. He gets fired there in October of 2018. I mean, June 18, sacked at Spain. October, sacked at Real Madrid, the job he lost his Spanish job for. June 2019, appointed as Sevilla's manager. He wins the Europa League. And he also wanted to be interested, or he wanted to be interviewed for the U.S. men's national team job, and they didn't even want to talk to him. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. It's craziness. And sorry, I'm not trying to insult Euro snob John. I'm trying not to be a bully here. I'm just saying, let's not deal in the extremes with all of this. Let's look at the facts. And in the Spanish game, Sevilla has become the yo-yo team between the Europa League and the Champions League.
Yeah.
They're not good enough to compete in the Champions League level, but they are very, very successful at this level. They'll go into the group stage next year, Champions League. Will they get to the knockouts? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, they've established themselves as that. Barcelona's fallen on hard times. Luis Suarez is saying he'd rather sit on the bench and stay at Barca than go anywhere. He says nobody's talked to him. The soap opera that is Barcelona will continue to rage on daily. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this thing. Real Madrid's going to sit and pick up the pieces, and they are in the driver's seat of the Spanish game for a little while now. At least I think at least this next season, maybe a couple of years, depending on how these rebuilds go. Atleti's the one that is not going to get the hype, but I'm really curious to see what direction they go. Do they stick with what has gotten them this far, where they are the number 3 team, and right now by default they might be the number 2 if Barca's rebuild is as drastic as we think it could be?
Yeah.
Or do they think now's the time that we can be more? We can be more than just a defend and counter team. We can be more than just a negative team. If Simeone can't do that for us, then we need to go get somebody else. But we can jump ahead of Barcelona and be the number 2 in Spain right now. I want to see what direction they go. Fascinated to see it.
Amen. And that's the bazillion-dollar question for me when it comes to those 3, is that what's up with Atleti? What are they going to do? Who are they going to be? Do you stay who you are, thinking that you can take advantage of the situation and still be number 2, or do you think that there's some work to be done?
Cuppers blessed us with the new Twitch pitch graphic, by the way. People are very excited about it on the Twitch. Thank you, Cuppers. Thank you, Alex. We appreciate it. We'll see. I mean, the European theater is going to be really, really interesting to watch over the next month, because you've got a sprint to the next season. And a next season that, if you've looked at some of the potential calendars for national team level players like Harry Kane, his potential calendar that he's going to set up on his phone is ridiculous. He's going to have alerts going off every other day for a match. I mean, it's ludicrous. How managers handle all of that is going to be really interesting. How directors of football handle right now in building squads with probably limited resources. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. If you've ever played Football Manager, if you've ever played FIFA and do the behind-the-scenes transfer stuff, this is going to be real-life madness coming up over the next little bit of time. Champions League final is Sunday. It is going to be a real decision for Hansi Flick. Do you focus on what you do well, or do you change because you're afraid of PSG's front 3? I don't know what the right answer is, but that has to be what is got Hansi Flick sitting right now at a tactics board trying to figure out, do I go this way, do I go this way? Do you think he changes anything up for the final?
I don't think so. I figure if the last time you lost was, December 7th on the calendar?
Yeah.
And you've made this run and you've done what you've done to this point. I think that there are ways that you can take advantage of PSG and what they're doing. I honestly do. I think that you can sit there and when you're all right, so you get the ball in transition. Let's just say you get the ball in transition and you're working your way toward the PSG net. Do you see Mbappe and Neymar backtracking defensively to help out with numbers?
No, but that can be good and bad.
And I was looking at it from the latter perspective because I think that the matchup that you have going the other way, if you don't have Neymar and Mbappe backtracking, A, it gives you numbers, and B, I think it's stuff that Bayern can take advantage of.
Well, I mean, let's be real and let's play this out. Okay, it gives you numbers. To get those numbers, if they're going to keep three up high, if PSG keeps those three up high with, and I would include Di Maria in that because generally they play as a true front three. So if they stay up high, then let's do math. PSG then has 7 players back. You have your back line of 4. You have your 3 midfielders. Bayern can get their 3 up top, their midfield, and they can get their outside backs forward, kind of, sort of. But this is the flip side of that. That sounds great. Like, oh, these 3 guys aren't going to track back and defend? Cool. Okay. We'll get numbers. Say we get 7v7. Say we get 8v7. What happens if you have a bad pass?
Yep.
No, you say that it shouldn't change anything. I'm asking you.
I know, but and I know that your transition, that's when you went to the good side. Is if there's a bad pass, then you've got all of that firepower all the way over to the other side of the screen, and it creates a
beyond that. What happens if you have a shot on goal? Goalkeeper grabs it. He's got a 3v2, 3v3 with that speed. You're going long every day.
Yeah.
He puts a decent ball out there. You're in trouble. That's why I'm asking. You say you shouldn't change a thing. That's what will keep Hansi Flick up all night. Those guys aren't going to come back. But if you don't finish the play, if you don't find the back of the net or put a shot out for a goal kick or get a corner or whatever, they have the opportunity to transition, and they are even better in the transition than Lyon was.
Yep.
And Lyon almost hurt you. So I don't think you dramatically change. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're going to bunker or anything. But I think you have to be careful with going. You can't just bomb forward like you have at times. You don't want to give 2 goals up quickly to PSG. I think there's going to be goals in this game. I'm all about the over in this one.
Okay.
I think Bayern wins it, but I think they sweat more than they have sweated in quite a while because this is going to be difficult to deal with that kind of an attack. And you're going to get caught. It comes back to that mental strength that I think Bayern has. They're not going to crumble when they concede because I do think they'll concede. They're not going to crumble like some teams would. They're not going to then have doubts. They're going to say, okay, this is the way we play. This is our commitment to playing in this style. We're going to give up chances. They got us. All right, now we have to go get 1 too. And I think they're going to be okay. And I'm thinking 3-2 Bayern.
Okay. You mentioned the over-under. Once again, courtesy of our friends in the aggregate odds portal. The minus changes to a plus at 3 3/4, 375.
That's fine. I got 5.
Yep. So over under they have at minus 101 at 3.5, plus 160 at 4. Your 5 would be a plus 370 for the over.
All in. Well, I mean, no. Is that 5 or is that 4.5? Because you need 4.5 and go over. I'm calling 5. That's a push.
So then plus 213 at 4.5.
I'll still take that. I'm not going higher than that. That'd be madness. I do think Bayern wins it, but it's going to be potentially a really fun match. Now, we all say that, and it'll probably be 1-0.
Yeah.
It'll go to extra time, and it'll be an own goal. But it should be a fun match. There should be a lot to watch. Watch what John mentioned about the front three for PSG, how much they come back. Because, I mean, we've talked about Bayern and what they do. Does PSG have to change things up against Bayern? Do they come in a little more defensive and then try to open up as the game goes on? Watch early on how deep those three players get at times defensively. And if they don't, then both teams are basically daring one another to be excellent.
Yep.
Because Bayern is then daring PSG, okay, hit that ball on the break and punish us. And PSG is daring Bayern, okay, go score with your even numbers or potentially a man up. If you don't, we're going to go score the other way. So watch how much they drop. Let's see if there's any lineup changes. Tuchel is going to know exactly what Bayern's coming in to do. I don't know how much he has that he can really change. I think Bayern has the ability to change more than PSG does.
Yeah.
How much either side changes will be the story coming in. So Tesco with a good point. Barca and Lyon found space to run in behind Bayern's high line. There'll be goals for sure. It's a final, so it will be cagey. That part I'm not 100% on. We'll see. He says it's really hard to pick a winner, but it will be fun. My fear is Tuchel will overthink his tactics and Bayern will run the first half. I want to see it. You've got Hansi Flick in this game for the first time in his career. Does he overthink it, being here the first time? Or is he just, honestly, in some ways, being there for the first time, does that help him?
Yeah.
As just, hey, I'm here. I'm not changing a thing. This has got me to the dance. I'm rolling with it. Let's go. Maybe that helps him. Maybe that hurts him. So many little subplots in this one. So I'm looking forward to seeing the lineups. I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Let's talk MLS from last night before we get into Atlanta and Nashville, because I want to save a good bit of time for that. Not a ton of goals on hand last night, and I think that's something you might want to keep in mind for tonight. The attacks have been a little, slow to get going again after the MLS's back tournament. You had 2 scoreless draws, Cincinnati, DC, Houston, Dallas. From what I saw of both, felt like scoreless draws. Neither team really was all that great going forward. Captain Ragamuffin asked about Gressel with DC. He had one horrendous shot. He was playing as a right back in large portions of the match, and he's a liability there defensively. I just don't think DC's figured anything out about how they're going to set up. You've had some issues with Edison Flores being out of the team. You've got to get him back into the mix. Yamil Assad was playing as a 10. It's all over the place. I don't know if Ben Olsen really knows how to deploy this group yet. And that stop-start nature of the season is very difficult for teams that have had a lot of turnover, and DC is one of those. I don't know if DC gets a whole lot better than this. I think Cincinnati has a higher ceiling than DC, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Houston, Dallas. Dallas has went 3 games now without scoring a goal. That's weird for a team with that much talent. Paxton Pomacall couldn't go 90 last night. He came off the bench. Played well, but came off the bench because he was on a minutes restriction. You've got all these games in a short period of time. You're going to see some of that around the league. So keep that in mind for tonight as well. I can't remember if I picked both of those to be scoreless draws. I think I picked both of them to be draws.
Yes.
But I don't know if I said scoreless on them.
Yeah, I think we said draws, but not scoreless.
Yeah, I think I went draw, and I got the winners on the other two too. Toronto 1-0 over Vancouver. Vancouver hasn't found a goal in quite a while either, which is not a surprise. And Sporting Kansas City 2-1 in Minnesota. It's an own goal that wins it from Boxall. Kansas City was the better team. But the news out of Minnesota last night, all the story is going to be about Reynoso from Boca Juniors. Looks like the deal is done, according to the Argentine media. I've seen him a little. I haven't seen a ton of him. I haven't done a deep dive on him. I want to see what the price tag we're talking about here is. A lot of people are very high on him. I'm not 100% sure that he is going to live up to a big dollar figure. And I'm just curious to see what Minnesota does now in the attack, because they brought in Thomas Chacon, the young Uruguayan, last year, and they haven't played him. He's just on the fringes of this group. Kevin Molino has probably been best in that attacking midfielder, number 10-ish kind of role. If you're going to put Reynoso in there, do you move Molino out wide? he's never been as effective out wide. And if you move him out wide, then who are you dropping? Finley or Laud, who've both been pretty good.
Yep.
Or is there another move coming? And maybe that's what you see because, we talked about the depth here in Atlanta. Minnesota, you're talking about a very difficult situation with getting all of those players minutes. I don't know why you'd keep Chacon at this point. I don't know what the market is for him, but if you're bringing in another player in his position, he's gone. Boca's already tweeted it out, and this is what happens a lot of times. You'll get the announcement from the Argentine club before paperwork's registered here or whatever, and Boca's already tweeted it out. It's happening. It's done. That's the story in Minnesota. But how it works, I don't know. I'm really not sure. We'll see. It's a strange move to me because of how Chacon hasn't worked, and now you're adding another player into a crowded team. I don't know what it ends up looking like, and I'm not as sold on him being the fixer for this group. We'll find out though. It's going to be a fun one to watch because Minnesota has Amaria, who is one of the best forwards in the league, in my opinion. You've got a great holding midfield in Alonso and Gregush. You've got questions defensively now with Tyler Miller out, with Ikopara out for we don't know how long. The defense is going to have to be better. You can't give up 2 goals like this one to Kansas City at home. But now you're gonna flip it. You're gonna be really good on the attack. Last year they solidified everything defensively. They couldn't find goals. Now it feels like you're gonna be great offensively, but you're not gonna be good enough defensively unless you're now gonna look at moving Chacon for pieces, a Molino or a Finley or a Laud or one of those guys, moving them to get another piece in the back. A lot of that's going to depend on how long Ikopara is out. Tyler Miller, you've got to decide if you've got a goalkeeper you can count on in Ranjit Singh or Dane St. Clair. I don't know. Ranjit Singh's never been a regular starter in MLS. Is he ready for it? You don't have a whole lot of time to find out.
Yep.
Not if you want to do that. Not if you want to have the year that Minnesota has wanted to have. So we'll see. But keep that one in mind with Minnesota. Reynoso, it'll probably be 2 to 3 weeks before you'll be able to get him on the field, so it might be that next phase of play for Minnesota, but is he going to fix everything for them, or are the issues really defensively, which is where I think they are now?
Yeah, looking at last night's matches really quickly, Cincinnati, they had chances late, Regaton and Locadia, to get away with full points, but they get the 1 point. Jaap Stam, post-match, said that his team was the better team, and he was proud of the effort that they gave. I would say that they were the better team. They just didn't get the ball in the back of the net. They end up with a draw. Toronto, you get Pozuelo gets the assist on the goal. It was 1-0. I would have anticipated it being more than 1-0. And the largest lesson outside of own goal being the leading scorer last night in Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota is in the Houston-Dallas matches that they really got to color correct their cameras when it comes to future broadcast. Yeah,
it had a really weird tint to it. It was not good. I don't like the orange filter they had on it. I guess if you're the Houston Dynamo, you want everything to be as orange as possible, but right. Yeah, not good. No. Games tonight and games tomorrow, since we won't be back with you until Monday. You've got Fox today, 6 o'clock, so Atlanta United fans can get the first 30 minutes or so in, maybe put it on mute in the background for the rest of the first half. LAFC hosting the LA Galaxy. No Chicharito today for the Galaxy. Vela expected to play for LAFC. They are huge favorites, according to your Juicebox purveyors. Miami and Orlando at 8 o'clock. Pretty much a toss-up, according to BetMGM. Orlando's a slight favorite in this one. Very curious to watch that one back when I get home tonight. I want to see how both of those teams look, because we'll be seeing them coming up here very soon. Colorado, Real Salt Lake at 9 o'clock. And then tomorrow night, 10 o'clock on FS1, Portland and Seattle. Portland is a pretty good favorite in that one, and I would agree with that. Yep. So that's your calendar for Saturday, Sunday, and MLS. We've left one out because we've got about 30 minutes to talk about it now. Atlanta and Nashville. Tonight at the Benz, 6:30 is your pregame on 92.9 The Game. Kickoff will be just after 7 o'clock. And then we'll have the full-time report for an hour after the match. You can listen on the radio at 92.9 FM. You can also listen on the radio.com app. You can listen on your Atlanta United app as well. I have real questions on both teams' parts about the lineup coming in. And it's probably the most anticipated lineup sheet that I've been waiting for in a long time. And it's both teams. Because Atlanta, obviously, new manager right now in Stephen Glass. What does he do differently? What does he set the team up in? I don't think you're gaining anything from looking back at Atlanta United 2 setups because those were based on what the first team was doing. What does he do? Is it 4-3-3? Like, I'm kind of leaning some version of 4-3-3. Is it 4-4-2 with a diamond? Is it 3-5-2? Is it 3-4-3? Who knows? We have no idea. And that's exciting in a lot of ways. It's also a little bit like, well, wait a minute, how's this thing going to look? Nobody knows. Nashville is not settled either, and especially on their right side. I think they're going to play some version of a 4-3-3 that at times will look like a 4-4-2, and we'll talk about how that goes. But the left side is pretty well settled, with Daniel Lovitz at left back, with Randall Leal in front of him in the midfield. The right side, we've seen Eric Miller, who is dealing with an injury. Don't think he'll be the starter at right back. We've seen Brian Bekeles, the Honduran veteran. He played the first game against Dallas. He's played a lot of center back in his career as well, but he's comfortable at right back. We've seen Jalil Anibaba, who has played a little bit of right back in his career, far more at center back. We could see Alistair Johnson there, who played right back in college. He played right mid in the second game against Dallas, and that position is up for grabs. Do you see David Accam play on the right side? Do you see a situation like the first game in Dallas where Derek Jones played as the number 10 instead of Hani Mukhtar, and he played over on the right? Could you see another variation? Could you see, an Abu Danladi play on the right side? There's lots of different possibilities on that right side for Nashville. So with that in mind, and with Atlanta's situation in mind, who is a player for Atlanta, John, that you are watching tonight or expecting big things from?
Oh, expecting big things from and watching are two different things for me.
Well, pick both. Pick something.
Okay.
I'm trying to leave it open-ended for you.
Okay. Interested in George Bello. Want to see Pity Martinez. How about that?
Okay.
And here's why. We know the level of experience and exposure that George Bello has with Stephen Glass with his time from Atlanta United too. And I'm looking to see Bello's game continue to grow and evolve. And I think that with reps and the exposure under Stephen Glass on the practice field, so Stephen Glass can have the look at Bello that he's had. What does he see in George Bello? Does George Bello, who has had a lot of promise and injuries that have gone with it, we haven't been able to see Bello consistently. I'm looking forward to seeing Bello continue to evolve into that left back that we've all anticipated seeing. I want to see that growth continue, and I want to see how that's implemented under Stephen Glass. Pity Martinez, obviously, for the firepower that we know that he's capable of and the force that he can be offensively. I want to see how he's part and parcel under Stephen Glass once again. It's a new coach, and how are these guys that we want to see and we've had the chance to see in the past under Frank DeBoer, how are they under Stephen Glass with what we know or what we've seen and what we would like to see from them? So I guess it's one guy who has a lot of promise being a youthful player, and the other guy that we know we'd like to see put the ball in the back of the net, and how does his game integrate under a new coach?
I'm looking at both of those guys. I do think Bello gets the start tonight. I think his time with Atlanta United 2 last year, Stephen Glass is going to have a lot of trust in Bello. And against Nashville's right side, they've not really been as dangerous from that side as the opposite. So I think that sets up a little bit for Bello to be able to try to put them under some pressure and not have quite as much pressure on him defensively. You want him to take advantage if they sit a little bit more on that side. That would play into Bello's strengths more than it would with an Edgar Castillo. So I'm leaning Bello at left back for sure. Pity Martinez is critical, and we've had these conversations plenty of times. I'm a little surprised by the negativity around him. I don't know what the expectation has been for him, and that's maybe one of the harder things here. Are we judging him fairly based off what he is doing versus what other people who wore that same jersey number did, or just what other players have done in the league? It's tough to find. It's tough to figure that out because you can't separate the two completely. It's just impossible to do. One thing I will tell you that I think you have to keep in mind with this when we talk about Pitti, he hasn't done anything and he's been worthless this year and all that kind of stuff. You got to go back and look at this year, first off, because you look at the numbers in MLS and you can take, when you look at the amount of time they've played, I think you could easily take Carlos Vela and Josie Altidore out of this conversation because Vela didn't play in the MLS's back tournament. He played 2 games. Altidore, it's not a ton of minutes from him. Out of regular players in the league this year, Pity Martinez is third in shot-creating actions. He is behind Alejandro Pozuelo and Gustavo Bo. He is ahead of everybody else in the league. Vela and Altidore are right there with him, slightly ahead. You're talking 6.29 and 6 versus 5.96. He has been productive. He is not scoring a bunch of goals. That is not something that he is really going to do. Now, though, without Joseph Martinez, you want him to score more than he has been. You want him to find more goal-scoring opportunities for himself. And that's something that he's going to have to look to do more. Out of those players, I mentioned Pozuelo, for example. Pozuelo is going to look more for himself at times. Gustavo Bo is going to look more for himself at times. Pitti out of that group, Vela and Altidore, are going to look for goals for themselves. Pitti out of that group is one who's looking for more opportunities for others. And you've got to change that mindset a little bit more. But then that's been part of the criticism of Pity Martinez, hasn't it? If he's shooting from distance, we get mad if he doesn't find the back of the net from 25 yards, which not a lot of people do. I feel like Pitti has been good this year. I feel like Pitti was good at the second half of last year, really good. I think he started the season really, really good. I think he was really good against the Red Bulls down in Orlando. The other 2 games, not at quite the same level, but not bad either. Pitti is an important player with this group, and you need to find the way to play that's going to get the best out of him. Because now your job is different. If you are Stephen Glass coming into this team now, you came in with time to train ahead of these games, but it's not a preseason. A preseason, you can sit and you can look at, okay, we want to build for this. We want to be better in the second half of the year. We want to keep building this element of the team, et cetera, et cetera. You don't have that right now. You've got 18 games ahead of you, and it's going to come fast and furious. You're not going to have a whole lot of time to train around them. It is a lot like a national team kind of gig at the moment. It's, all right, what do I have? How can I put them in positions that make them feel comfortable? And how can I get the best out of what they are right now? Because I'm not going to have a ton of time to change anything. I'm going to have to get the best out of who they are today. You're going to have time to watch video. You're going to have time to look at tendencies of the opposition. You're going to look at things where you had breakdowns, things where it went well. But you're not going to have a whole lot of time to develop the team, especially in these 6 games.
Yeah.
So you know who Pitti is. You want him to be free. You want him to have the opportunity to do what he does well. And what he does well is create. 27 shot creating actions for this team. That's 10 more than anybody else in the roster this season. You want him in those spots. And now, I think, once you get Kubo Torres and Jurgen Damm playing good amount of minutes, maybe neither one of them plays 90 in this group of 6 games, but I think you're going to see them probably in every game. Now you've got some pieces around you that you can produce for without Joseph Martinez. You have to factor that into Pitti's season this year a little bit because the way they started, go back to the Motagua game at Kennesaw, where those two seemed to be sharing the same wavelength.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful to watch. And that was one of those times that, oh no, 3-4-3, it's all bad, everything is bad. That was one where it was great. You're playing Motagua, yes, but it was beautiful, the interaction and the interchange between everybody. He hasn't had that for a full game since. So Pitty's got to be better, but he's been pretty freaking good so far. You want Barco stepping up more and more. Barco on the dribble, you want to set him up there. You want Pitty free, you want Barco running at people. The two of them, this is something that's an interesting number. They have created 10 shot opportunities from being fouled. We've seen them in the tournament, and the flip side of that is you got to be better on your set pieces once you get those opportunities. You've got to find the back of the net. You've got to force big saves. But you're creating opportunities in a lot of different ways with those two. Where I look at Atlanta United overall, taking it away from the individual players for a second, I think they've got to be more aggressive defensively. And that's not saying just press all the time and run everything down. You've got to jump into passing lanes and intercept passes. You've got to get into tackles, and you've got to pressure the other team from the top a little bit more. I went back and I started comparing Nashville and Atlanta in these numbers. And numbers are numbers. They don't tell you everything. But when you watch these games back and you know these numbers, it's a little surprising. I think Nashville, we've had this idea, they sit, they bunker. They sit, they defend, they bunker. That's all they do. Not necessarily. They will step up and pressure. They have pressured the opposition. This is something that you're starting to dig deeper into with numbers and actions and trying to quantify things. 138 pressures in the attacking third of the field. That's across the roster. Atlanta's played one more game than that. 140 for Atlanta. Nashville will step up and pressure. And a lot of it comes from Daniel Lovitz on the left side. That's where Nashville gets kind of interesting, and I wanted to mention where they look 4-4-2 at times. Hani Mukhtar, when they are defending, let's start with pressure's broken, other teams coming in, playing in your half. That's when Nashville will drop deeper, and it'll look like a 4-4-1-1. Two deep lines of four, Mukhtar in front of them, Baji up top. That's what we saw in the second game against Dallas a lot. Before the pressure is broken, when the other team has possession and they're trying to build out of the back, it will sometimes look 4-4-2 with Mukhtar stepping up high with Baji, and they will both chase, and they're both very active defensively, Baji especially. And sometimes it'll look like a 4-3-3, or really a 4-2-4 in a lot of ways, when you do get that right side up, and you get Lovitz up high, or Leal up high, or sometimes both, because that's where Nashville can be a problem, is Baji and Mukhtar in the middle will step up. Where do they get support from? Is it Randall Leal, who's got a ton of speed? He can step up high on the left. Does he step up and come inside a little bit and Lovitz step up high? Because Lovitz is the far more aggressive player for them on the outside. He will get forward for them a lot more, but he'll also stay up and defend a lot more. You've got two veterans in McCarty and Godoy who are going to sit. They're going to clean up any of the mistakes, any of the errors that those guys force. And you've got Walker Zimmerman, Dave Romney, who are no-nonsense center backs. Zimmerman's a better player with the ball than Romney. Romney will try to play the thing to Marietta if he's under any trouble tonight, and that's fine. Nashville is a little more unpredictable than we think. And Atlanta, if they're going to build out of the back, and we know they are, they're going to have to be careful at times because that pressure can be unpredictable how much and where it comes from. That's why Dominique Baji's getting these starts for Nashville. It's not because he's great in front of goal at the moment. He's not. But he has been very aggressive in creating opportunities through pressure. And when you're playing up against a team like Atlanta that wants to build out of the back, a player like that becomes pretty valuable. So you've got a lot to look for tonight outside of the goal scoring, outside of the final third for each team. Both teams have a lot of questions about who they are and how they look in those build-up moments of play and how they look without the ball in those moments too.
As I'm sitting here looking at a possible projected lineup from a couple days ago and seeing how things are twisting, the question that I have for you about Nashville is, all things being equal, who are you going to be paying the most attention to tonight in that 11 that you may have in your brain?
From Nashville?
Yeah.
Mukhtar. Because he's the one that can hurt you the most. Dangerous on the ball. We mentioned shot-creating actions, a number that Pitti is close to 6 on per 90 minutes. Mukhtar's at 4. He's leading Nashville. He's the guy who creates those opportunities. We know what McCarty can do when he steps up. He's dangerous on the edges of the final third. Leal, we know he's dangerous on the dribble. He's going to shoot from distance. Mukhtar's more unpredictable. He's the harder one to deal with, and I think he's far more comfortable with his team than he was in Game 1, where he wasn't, much of a factor. I think he's growing into this group a lot with the time they've had to train. Gary Smith loves him. He's a guy who sacrifices for the team. Mukhtar's the one that worries me the most, that I'll be watching a lot for Nashville.
And then, of course, you're looking at set pieces from a Nashville perspective, and looking at set pieces really from both perspectives, from Atlanta United defending them and what Nashville could possibly do if they have them.
Yeah, set pieces are going to be an issue for Nashville because you've got Walker Zimmerman. I mean, he's one of the best goal-scoring center backs in Major League Soccer. So you've got to worry about him, and you've got guys who can pick him out. And McCarty and Mukhtar, and Lovitz, you've got guys who can deliver quality service. So Atlanta's going to have to be switched on. They were not in Nashville, and they gave up a goal in a moment that they shouldn't have. They've got to be better than that because right now they're not scoring a whole lot. So those goals become even more valuable if you give up something like that where you switch off. I want to finish. We got 15 minutes, so I want to finish with questions. If there's any on Twitter, we'll get those as well. We got some in the Twitch pitch that I want to grab onto. Walchara says, from what I've seen, if Atlanta control possession, they're in trouble. Very ponderous. If that's better, maybe it'll be good. I don't think it'll be ponderous anymore. I think it's going to be a little more clearly defined. Controlling possession is not a bad thing. We have to eliminate this idea that controlling possession is bad. No. And I think controlling possession is good. It's all about what you do with it. Yeah. But controlling possession is an opportunity to not have the other team have the ball. I mean, we're getting really simplistic here, but if you have the ball, the other team has less of an opportunity to score. You have players who are good on the ball in Atlanta United. You're in a good spot there. If you're a bad team with bad players on the ball and the other team is giving you a lot of the ball, you might have some more problems with that. Atlanta United should be better with the ball. And I think under Stephen Glass, one of the things that a lot of people have talked about is back to basics, being simple. You're not going to see slower build-up. And this is where you go past just a possession number and you talk about how you're using it. At times, Atlanta was too slow to switch the point of attack, too slow in getting organized. Because if you're using possession well, and there's plenty of teams that have thrived in possession-oriented systems, if you're using possession well, you are using it to keep your team organized. You're moving up the field together in sync, in possession. But you're also doing it with some speed. And where you see opportunities, you're taking them. Whether it's a through ball, whether it's a big switch, you're playing faster. And if you have a lot of possession tonight, but at a slow tempo, it doesn't really help you as much. If you have a lot of possession tonight, which you will because Nashville's going to concede it a good bit, and you play at a quicker tempo, you can take advantage of that. Tempo is more important than possession to me tonight. That's what I'm looking for. Tesco says, do you want to see Barco in the middle as a linker or on the wing taking on defenders? When you say linker, Tesco, I'm thinking a number 8, like Nagby was in the past, and I don't think Barco's that player. He could be a 10, but I think Pitti is best served to be 10 because that's the most free role, and you want Pitti to go find the game. If it's drifting out wide, whatever, that's fine. I'd rather have Barco out wide because you know you're going to get the defensive responsibility you need from him. And from Pitti, he's focused on creating opportunities. Barco will give you work on both sides of the ball. You need that out wide, especially on the left side if you've got Bello who's going to go forward. Pitti would be protected more if he's the 10. So I think it works better if Pitti starts as the 10, if Barco starts in the left wing, but they're going to be interchangeable in the final third. They're going to move around. There's no problem with that. Tesco says it seems like modern 10s are put on the right wing like Messi, but Messi comes into the middle a lot too. Messi's in a free role, and Messi likes to play the same kind of role that I think Pitti does, the enganche, in an old Argentine formation, you see a lot of teams play 4-3-1-2. You have three guys behind to protect your number 10. Maradona played in that number 10. Messi wants to play in that role. I think Pitti likes to play in that role. Those players like that protection behind them, but it's very free. They can drift. Pitti is the opposite of Messi in that he doesn't drift to the right, he drifts to the left. But he's going to end up on the left wing at times. That's fine. And Barco then is going to take space in the middle because Barco will get there by dribbling. Pitti will get to his spot by drifting out off the ball. Those things are fine. You want it to be somewhat interchangeable, but then when you transition to defense, you want Barco thinking about the left and you want Pitti thinking about where can I find the ball next. Those are the things I'm looking for. What do we have on Twitter?
A couple of different things. And it from topics that we had yesterday, whether it was run-up or anything else that happened yesterday, Tafka was putting puzzle pieces together in his brain, and it had to do with Marinago. He says, is it possible that Marinago is the new Atlanta United 2 coach, and they've made a deal with Glassy that he'll be an understudy assistant to the new hire, an heir apparent for the future, thereby being proactive in the event of the next change?
Let me look out the window. Is the black helicopter out there? Yeah, I think I see it. Maybe. I mean, we're going off of one Paraguayan radio report and another where this Mourinho said that he's taking a job in the United States, but didn't mention a club. Let's not go too far down the rabbit hole just yet. I mean, is that possible? Yeah, that's possible. It's a good script. It could happen, but there's no way to know anything like that right now.
Okay, walkout music. That was a discussion from yesterday. Joe Johnston has a couple of suggestions, and I would like your feedback.
Okay.
Who You Wit, Lil Jon and the East Side Boys.
Do you even know what that is?
No.
That's what I thought. That'd be a great one. That one used to start fights back in the club when I DJ'd.
The remix of the Bankhead Bounce Back with Chris Massey and the Yin Yang Twins.
I don't like the remix as much. Bankhead Bounce would be fine. I would go What's Up by Play With Poncho instead, but I could go with that.
Bring 'Em Out by T.I.
Yeah, that's a standard one. I mean, it's a good one, don't get me wrong, but I'd almost like to go in a different direction than that.
And then Joe admits that Atlanta has too many options, and his fourth one that he put out for perusal was Put On by Jeezy and Kanye West.
That's a good one, too. I'd be fine with that. Braves use Bring 'Em Out, according to Turner Kirby. Yeah, I think everybody's used that at some point in every team sport in the United States, which it's a great song for it. If I'm going T.I., man, I mean, there's so many. For a walkout, I have to think about it. Maybe What's Up, What's Happening. That might be my theme song right now, is What's Up, What's Happening. I think that's what I'm going to listen to on the way to the stadium today.
And then the last one on Twitter comes from Michael Head from Early Thoughts this morning. He says, English football is not dead. Won the Champions League and Europa last year.
Dead.
I know you were just kidding.
Dead.
Using the same rationale, Atlanta football is dead.
It's dead. It's all dead. It's all dead. Everything's dead. Everything is dead. Let's be the cool, cynical people and say everything's dead.
Everything's dead.
You know, the game last night, Italian football's dead because Inter lost. They're dead. They're dead. Juventus is trying to get rid of players. They've got Pirlo as manager. They're dead. Italian football's dead. The only thing that's alive right now is German football and French football. Everything else is dead. Atlanta football's dead. All of it's dead. Let's be cool, cynical folks now.
All right, and
sorry, I gotta have the tweets to go along with that so I can be part of the cool kids.
All right, numbers from our friends in the aggregate at Odds Portal. You'd mentioned the matches today. El Tráfico LAFC is a minus 263. The Galaxy are at plus 583.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. The line has flipped with Inter Miami and Orlando City. Inter Miami is now plus 170. Orlando City's at plus 154.
Yeah, I said Orlando's a slight favorite. I would go draw there.
Plus 246. And Colorado Real Salt Lake. Colorado is at plus 110. RSL's at plus 246. Your draw is at plus 247.
Draw.
Tomorrow, Cascadia, Portland at plus 125, Seattle's at plus 215, and your draw is at plus 242.
Portland. You're going to give me a plus number on Portland. I'm taking it.
There you go. So that's the numbers from the composite.
Okay. More stuff on the Twitch pitch as we finish. Lots of stuff about music, and Alex Bassine is shouting out Doing It All for My Baby by Huey Lewis in the News. Yeah, I think Pitti might punt a ball up at the press box if that happens, and I couldn't blame him for that at all. I would agree with that. I mean, it's a great song, but that's not where I want to get pumped up. That's what you got to be careful about. I mean, I could pick a lot of songs from the 90s or 80s that I think are great that I'd be excited about. Ezekiel Barco would be like, what? Huh?
Yeah.
I want him to be pumped up. I don't need to be pumped up. I want those guys to be pumped up.
80s.
So let's let them call it. You'd go 70s. Don't even lie. I know.
I don't know. Actually, I'd go 80s because I don't think I know enough 70s music. I might be old, but I'm not that old.
What song would you play to run through a wall, John?
I said wrestling stuff, and then Abby shouted me down yesterday.
Yeah, what song? I'm not talking about a wrestling theme that was made for a wrestler. I'm talking about what song would you play to run through a wall?
Oh, wow. See, now you have me think about it. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll come up with an answer.
We don't have 5 minutes.
We don't have 5 minutes? Well, I mean, it won't be Freebird because the guitar solo takes too long.
Freebird's not going to make you excited. What's wrong with you?
Maybe Little Feat, Oh Atlanta by Little Feat?
You have a weird definition of getting excited. All right, a couple different things. Christopher Abel says, what about Pitty's song from River? Play that over the PA. I would love to hear that over the PA if he scores a banger tonight. Yes. I would love to hear that from the stands at some point. He deserves it. I would love to hear more songs from the stands. Gustavo is working on some things down in Buenos Aires. He is working on lyrics. He is working on songs to mimic and make work because that's a very common thing in Argentine football culture, which is dead too, like everything else. Yeah. But
it's all dead.
It's all dead. Everything's dead. Everything's black. Let's listen to My Chemical Romance. But he is writing lyrics because he likes how Independiente and other clubs will take an American song. For example, the Argentine anthem during the 2014 World Cup was written to the rhythm of Bad Moon Rising by Creedence. And it included a line, Maradona es más grande que Pelé, which everybody went nuts about. And it was great. I'd love to see stuff like that here. I'd love to hear songs from the stands. That'd be pretty cool. And Pitty's song's one that, I mean, it's an easy one. Turner Kirby said, we've gotten glares in the press box when we'd play Bad Day after a pitcher gets yanked mid-inning. Even had someone call it classless. It's kind of funny. I don't hate it. The Pitty song from River, Abby, go look that up on YouTube. It's just, I mean, it's an original song. I don't know what rhythm it was based on, but it's a very common one. So would love to see that. Ricky Ricardo saying we need a song like San Lorenzo, drinking all the wine and smoking all the trees, LOL. I mean, I'm not writing it. Go for it.
Nope.
Write it. Do it.
Yes.
Wonderwall's different, Tesco. Like, that's an after-game song, and that's cool. That's a cool tradition because people care about it. To the point that the players were singing it in Orlando on their own when the fans weren't there. That means it's part of the club's culture. That's cool. If we have one of those too, that's cool too. I'm talking about instead of just the chanting style of things from the crowd, which is ripping off England, which is dead. Remember, English football's dead. But American football's dead too, so maybe we're all zombies. I don't know.
Zombie soccer.
Sing. Let's sing a little bit. That'd be kind of fun. Even if you don't sing well, let's sing a little bit. And Christopher Abel, yeah, I mean, you'd have to change the part about Boca in the Pitty song, and that's easily done. I think we have creative folks who can come up with that. All right, so we got a couple minutes before we wrap up. Broadcast stuff today, both TV on Fox Sports South and radio on 92.9 The Game. Pre-game starts at 6:30. Game starts a little after 7. you will hear what's being played in the stadium. I believe that FSS has said the same thing that we are. We're not making up crowd noise to put in. Like, we don't have a tape that we're hitting play on. Where there's crowd noise in the stadium, it's being played over the PA, which we're seeing teams do in MLS. You're going to hear it. You're going to hear what's in the venue. We've got a mic out the window, and you're going to hear what goes on out there. So that's our broadcast. I guess I've joked about it this morning, about cynicism. Be excited about this tonight, y'all. I mean, I know it's disappointing that people can't be in the building. I completely understand that. But this is a moment to be excited. And as much as things are a mess at the moment outside of this is a couple of hours that you can enjoy, hopefully, but feel something about no matter what. Don't be cynical and hide feelings from that. You know, like, you get mad during the game, get mad during the game. You get excited, get excited. Like, that's what this is for. That's why these guys are sacrificing and working hard and sacrifice to play in Orlando to give us all something that is a release. I'm pumped, and I'm not going to allow myself to be cynical about it. I'm excited to see what Stephen Glass brings to this team. I'm excited to see how these players respond. I'm excited to see them in this push to get into the playoffs and make a run. I'm excited. Please be excited, and hopefully you'll join us on radio today. TV will be available as well on FSS. If you're outside of the area, you can watch on ESPN+. Lots of things we'll have to talk about on Monday. So enjoy it tonight. Have a good time with it. Be safe. Be responsible. Lots of the supporters groups have take-home deals with their different typical viewing party partners. Check out The Faction. Check out Footy Mob. We have a lot of those going on. Enjoy it. We'll be on Twitter during the game. We'll be on Twitter after the game in our full-time report. It's an hour after the game. We'll be on for an hour, 92.9 The Game and radio.com. Thank you for hanging out this morning. We'll be back on Monday in the Twitch pitch and on Soccer Down here. Y'all have a good one. Mucho plata, y'all.
Twos are playing in Tampa tonight on ESPN+. Mucho plata, y'all.